It started with a sound, not loud, not sharp, just out of place. Too loud for a quiet house. At first I thought I imagined it. But then I remembered. Dad was downstairs, and the silence that followed was heavier than anything I'd ever felt. I froze. The creak of the floorboards echoed through the house. Slow, deliberate steps made their way up. My heart began to pound in my chest. The door to my room wasn't locked. The footsteps stopped. Right outside, then knock. Knock. I held my breath, but the voice that followed wasn't Dad's. It was Jason, his best friend. Something in his tone made my stomach twist. "Everything all right in there?" he asked. I forced my voice steady. "Yeah, just trying to sleep." Silence. And then the doorknob turned. I wanted to scream, tell him to stop, but the door opened anyway. Light spilled into the room. Jason stepped in, his tall frame blocking the doorway. He didn't smile. He didn't even blink. He just scanned the room slowly, then closed the door behind him with a quiet click. My throat went dry. "You might want to be more careful," he said. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "Not everyone knocks first." I forced a chuckle, tried to play it off. "Yeah, sorry. Just weird dreams." Jason didn't laugh. He just stood there, watching me. His expression wasn't anger. Wasn't even surprise. It was something else. Something I couldn't name. And then, without another word, he stepped back, opened the door, and left. But when I glanced at the door, again my blood ran cold. It wasn't just closed. It was locked. From the inside, I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him standing there in the doorway, quiet, watching. The next morning, he sat at the kitchen table with Dad, sipping coffee like nothing happened. Dad smiled at me, asked if I slept okay. I nodded, pretending everything was normal, but Jason's eyes found mine for just a second too long, and in that moment, I realized something terrifying. He hadn't walked into my room by accident. He had been testing me. Ethan had been coming over for years. So why would this time feel different? Because this time, I noticed the way his eyes lingered. Because this time, something about him felt off. I told myself I could handle it, stay in my room, avoid eye contact, pretend none of it was real. But that didn't last. By 7:30, Ethan was already at the table, smiling, laughing with my father, wearing a dark shirt that made him look sharper than usual. I walked past them toward the kitchen, my eyes glued to my phone, pretending. "Hey kid," Ethan said casually. I glanced up just long enough to nod, just long enough to see the look he gave me. Not casual. Not friendly. The kind of look that made my stomach twist. I turned away fast and stepped into the kitchen. That's when I heard Dad say, "Alex, grab the box from the top shelf from me, would you?" Of course. It was on the highest one. And of course, Ethan followed me in. I didn't hear him, but I felt him, the weight of his presence close behind me. The second I stretched up to reach the box, he was there, close. His voice was low. "You're nervous, don't," I whispered back. "He's right there." "I know," he said, leaning just slightly closer. I froze. My chest tightened. Then, just as suddenly, he stepped back right as Dad walked into the kitchen. "Everything good?" Dad asked. Ethan smiled without missing a beat. Just helping him reach it. You've got a tall kid now, Dad chuckled. Must run in the family. I forced a smile, but inside, my heart was racing. Dinner was torture. Ethan sat across from me, calm and cool, while I struggled to keep my composure. His foot tapped mine under the table. Once, twice. I moved, but he did it again. Dad didn't notice a thing, he just kept talking about sports, work, and how Ethan was considering opening his own business. Ethan barely looked at me again. Until Dad stepped away to answer a call upstairs. Then Ethan leaned forward slightly, his eyes fixed on mine. Are you going to keep pretending? He asked softly. I swallowed hard, unable to answer. His hand shifted under the table, not touching me, but close enough to feel deliberate. You know I'm right, he murmured. I clenched my jaw, stood up, and forced out, I'm done eating. I walked to my room, trying to keep my legs from trembling. But I knew what he was doing, testing me, waiting to see when I'd stop resisting. An hour later, I heard a knock on my door. Once, then twice. I didn't answer. Silence followed. Then, a folded note slid under the door. My chest tightened. I picked it up. 4 words, written in his handwriting. Next time, don't hide. I didn't reply. Didn't throw it away either. I tucked it into the drawer by my bed. And even though I told myself I shouldn't, I kept reading it, over and over. That Friday, Dad hosted a late poker game with friends. Ethan showed up last, wearing his usual calm smile. When I went to grab water, his eyes met mine. No smile this time. Just a look. Not casual. Not friendly. A promise. Around 1:30 a.m., the guests left. I stayed in bed, lights off, pretending to sleep. But I wasn't resting, I was waiting. A full hour passed. Then, footsteps. Slow, familiar, stopping right outside my door. The silence pressed in. I should have locked it. Should have spoken. Should have ended this, but I didn't. The door creaked open. Ethan stepped inside. No words, no hesitation. He closed it behind him with a quiet click. Moonlight spilled across his face. His jaw set, his eyes dark. That same look, like nothing would stop him now. You didn't answer the note, he whispered. I struggled to breathe. My voice cracked. You didn't give me a choice. He sat at the edge of the bed. Did you want one? I froze. My pulse hammered in my ears. I've watched you deny it, he said quietly. But I know what you're feeling. I clenched my fists, every instinct screaming to push him away. But my body stayed frozen. Ethan leaned closer, his shadow stretching over me. Tell me to leave, he said. Just say it. But I couldn't. The silence between us was louder than any words. I didn't care anymore. But when I woke up the next morning, he was gone. And so was my dad. All that remained was a text from Liam. We need to talk. I think your dad knows. When I saw Liam's name on my screen, my stomach dropped. My heart slammed in my chest. The bed beside me was still warm, but Ethan was gone. No goodbye, no message, not even a trace he'd been there. The house was silent. Dad's car was gone. No note, no laughter in the kitchen, like usual. Something was wrong. I texted Liam back. What do you mean he knows? No reply. I called straight to voicemail. Panic grew inside me. What did Dad see? What did he hear? Did he walk in last night while I was too distracted with Ethan to notice? An hour passed. Then another. Still nothing. The knock on the door made me jump. It was Liam, his face pale, his jaw clenched. We went to my room. He didn't sit. I came to drop off your charger last night, he said. I knocked. But no one answered. And then I saw him, your dad's friend, climbing out your window like a teenager. My chest tightened. Silence. You lied to me, Liam said, his voice breaking. This whole time, really? I tried to explain. I didn't mean for it to happen. You didn't mean to. His voice cracked. You were with me, Alex. How long has this been going on? I don't know, I whispered. Liam stared at me like I was a stranger. Then he stormed out. I didn't stop him. I couldn't. Later that evening, Dad came home. He didn't say much, just looked at me like he knew, but didn't have the words. Ethan's not coming over anymore, he said flatly. He told me he needs space. My throat closed. He knew something. Maybe not everything, but enough. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 3:02 a.m., my phone buzzed. One message, come outside. I ran to the window. Ethan was there, leaning on his car, hoodie up. I slipped out quietly. I can't see you anymore, I whispered, my voice cracking. Why? He asked. Because of my dad. Because of everything. Silence. I broke up with Liam, I admitted. Ethan looked down. I ruined everything, he said softly. Your friend, your dad, you. I stepped closer. But I still care. Our eyes locked, and in that moment, I realized it wasn't about right or wrong anymore. It was about what we both felt, even if it was complicated. The end. Subscribe for more powerful life-changing stories.